Welcome back, everybody, to my YouTube channel. Our guest today is Mr. Jim McSorley, who's a detective supervisor with the LAPD, and he was featured in the documentary by Netflix on the case of Elisa Lam, who was a girl from Vancouver, British Columbia, actually the daughter of immigrants from Hong Kong. And she was in the first months of 2013 vacationing in LA, and she was found dead in a water tank on the roof of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Thanks, Jim, for your time.
Oh, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Great to meet you visually, hopefully one day, and you come to LA, or when I'm in Italy, we'll meet in person. So thank you for this opportunity. It really means a lot.
Absolutely. In the meantime, we just speak through this internet connection just to know each other.
It's amazing.
It is. It is. Let's start from the creepy video of the elevator in which we see Elisa acting weirdly. Can you rule out, based on your researches, that there was somebody else not being recorded by the cameras trying to do her harm or trying to threaten her or to kill her or anything of the sort?
Yeah, this is an important thing to realize that I've come to realize as an investigator. What we do as a good investigator, remain impartial, gather as much facts as you can, and make a solid assessment. That's all we're pretty much doing. Unless you're an eyewitness and we're there physically and can know for certain, we're just making an assessment, which more or less is just an educated guess based on technical aspects of video or audio, and then eyewitness accounts, and then just coming up with a scenario that you think that fits. So since I wasn't there and you weren't there, the best we have is information that we saw or that we garnered ourselves. And given all of that information, it's pretty certain that she was the only person in that elevator. But could I say that 100%? Absolutely not. But given, my background, training, and experience, and everything else that I've seen, like you've seen, it's a good chance that she was there by herself. But at the end of the day, who knows? We really don't know.
Okay, but what are your thoughts in general on the video? Was it somehow edited, or what we saw is what was recorded by cameras?
Well, when video gets presented to the public, in which that was via the police department's like media relations team, when it gets broadcast to the news or on social media, what have you, a lot of things get edited. Not just that. That's what we have to look at. I mean, we're looking at one thing, but you have to take the totality of the scenarios of videos that get sent through our media representatives. I could speak as Americans. I know myself, I have a short attention span. I don't know how it is for you guys. So our news clips are very rapid fire. We've got 1 to 2 minutes to make a statement and keep people's attention, and then people are moving on. So we can't have a long form video dump and keep people's attention. So from what I was told, that video was condensed just to give a snapshot of what that person was experiencing, and if that rang any bells for anyone that might have seen something. So that's what that is.
Okay,
But I know that
sorry,
when
go ahead.
people look at when people looking for answers, they're looking at everything, and they want to know. Oh, there was like a little blip. What does that mean? Was it edited? And if it was edited, why? So a lot of times that's why I do these podcasts, try to give the behind the scenes aspect of this is why things happen, and there's for the most part, it's usually always something innocent behind it. Can someone edit something for dubious reasons? Absolutely. But 99% of the time, I think from what we see out there, probably wasn't. And in this case, just strictly for time-consuming, reasons.
Okay, I get your point very well. Therefore, I think that one thing I heard that people say is that there was a kind of a secret agreement between the police and the hotel to try to hide the truth. And this video was among things that were edited to shield the hotel from their responsibilities. Can you rule out that? What are your thoughts on that?
I could just give you the outlook of the detectives I work with and I live with. My girlfriend works homicide, and when that case kicks off, usually you're woken up or you get a phone call, and you're just okay. We have a kidnapping or we have a homicide, and get to this location. You get to the location, and you get briefed by usually the uniformed patrol people, and it's more or less probably, especially in robbery homicide division's case, you may not even have been on that block before, let alone been involved in knowing the people that work or live at that hotel. So usually there's no nexus whatsoever to the investigator and the victim and the location that you're at. Sometimes yes, but more than likely no. So there's no vested interest in someone coming up with a scenario like once they find out what even happened, which takes time. Took some time on this, and then to come up with a scenario where there's some kind of buy-in of okay, this is what happened, and we both have a vested interest in suppressing this. As a regular blue-collar guy that's a detective and someone that owns or runs a hotel, our paths, they're light years away from each other. We don't know each other. We don't run in the same circles. There would be no reason to come together and form that agreement for whatever reason. So it sounds sexy in a movie or in a documentary sometimes, but in reality, it's a guy that just got, or a guy or a gal that just got woken up in the middle of the night and is groggy and wants to process the crime scene, gather information, and then move on and go home and get a good night's sleep and a good meal and start the next day. There's we don't get anything extra by forming alliances with people that want to keep things secret. Just that's not what happens. We just like everyone else. We want to come home to our family and live our life. So it's as a viewer, that I could see that from the outside. It'd be interesting to see, but in reality, that's never happens.
Okay. What can you tell us about the postmortem examination? Did it show sign of her being assaulted, being raped, or just having to fight back?
Not that I'm aware of. No, that's I wasn't privy to the nuts and bolts of that. A good friend of mine was the lead investigator on that. Greg Stearns, his name. Great detective. He works robbery homicide division, and wasn't involved in the documentary. He doesn't like to go public with things. Very private guy, which I get, and he kind of didn't want this documentary to go forward because it opens up wounds for the victim's family, which I totally understand. And I think there's always good aspects and bad aspects of a documentary. The bad, obviously, is family have to relive this, and it opens up questions, and maybe it goes places where they don't want it to go. But then the good, I always look at the good side of life, where it brings awareness to mental health, and where you could, if someone was exhibiting those signs and symptoms that everyday people aren't aware of, maybe one person that watched that documentary say, hey, this person is mentally decompensating. She needs help, and let me help her. That was the thing with her, a visitor from a strange land in a strange place. There were so many opportunities for people to help her, and she just didn't get the help she needed. And so if this documentary could save one life, that's mission accomplished for me. So Greg, hopefully one day comes in from the cold when he retires, and he could shed some more light on the nuances of that. But from everything that I have read from open source materials and other people I've spoken to, it was just an everyday, not an everyday, but it was just, an autopsy where nothing showed any type of sexual activity or anything out of the norm that would push it toward a homicide instead of an accidental death.
Okay, one thing that I find very striking is that she looked like a thin girl. So where did she find the strength to open the water tank? Because the cap looks very heavy,
Hmm. Yes,
I think.
it's interesting when the body is going through like a psychotic state. Some of the most knockdown, drag out fights I've ever had. It's never with a big guy, buff or whatever. It's always with someone that's very slender and lean. And when you're going through an episode like that, your body's going through like a fight or flight scenario. So she's struggling. She's mentally decompensating. Obviously, she was seemed to me maybe she was seeing things where she's trying to escape. When you're trying to escape, you're full of fear, and when you're full of fear, your body's producing adrenaline, and that gives it extraordinary strength. So when you have extraordinary strength, you could move objects you probably couldn't have. I mean, it's like the old scenario of the mother lifting the car and to lift it from the children. So obviously, we normal human beings can't do that, but our body can produce chemicals within it in these scenarios to overcome that and survive. So that's what I see is someone in a fight or flight mode, and now she could do things maybe she couldn't have done before.
From the TV series, you see that the Cecil Hotel is very close to a very dangerous zone filled with crime and things of the sort. Is that easy in LA to walk from a safe, secure zone to a dangerous one? I've never been to LA, I have to admit, so I'm asking you.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm from New York City. It's where I was reared, and I worked NYPD prior to that. And Manhattan and downtown Los Angeles are very much like that. You can go from Manhattan or Los Angeles, and you can go block from block, and it could be millionaires to I don't have a home to shower in. So it's quite a city where there's a lot of dichotomy of socioeconomic spectrum. So that slice of street that she was on, it's called Main Street. Uh, just a block or two, it looks like a third world country. And for more or less, it is where people are experiencing the most horrific things that you'll ever go through as a human being. And just a block or two away, there's millionaires and films being shot with all your tier one type of personalities that you've seen in Hollywood. So there's a real have and have-nots right there. So she was pretty much on like the borderline of heaven and hell in Los Angeles. So she was in a yeah quite a quite a state, and for a person to be in that type of that mental being, I mean, that could produce a lot of feelings of anxiety and trigger things that she had going on within her body. That's it's kind of like a lot of people get traveler's anxiety if they go to a strange foreign country or a city that they're not aware of. It does something to your body. Like conversely, it's like when you go to say a tropical island, you get super relaxed and calm and you feel at peace. But when you're in a crazy, erratic city with a lot of kinetic movement, that'll go up. It'll produce, I don't know what to do with myself. And that's, you know, coupled with things that were going on with her already, you had that recipe for disaster.
The most absurd theory I've heard about this case is the one according to which the death of Elisa Lam was linked to a tuberculosis outbreak that happened in those days in Los Angeles, given the fact that the test for tuberculosis, one of them at least, is called Lam Elisa. Uh, what are your thoughts on it, and how can people come up with something so absurd?
Wow. I mean, yeah, when I heard that, I was like, wow. I mean, that took a lot of work to come up with a theory like that, which is fantastic. It's amazing to hear these scenarios, like how certain people's mind works and what you could tap into. So those things, you could search and search like algorithms and try to connect dots and then come up with something interesting like that. And then someone else could do that and come up with 100, 500 failed connections. So, you know, is it a matter of finding that one little string, or finding a million different scenarios where that doesn't fit? And then you finally find one, you're like, okay, this is it. This had to be it. You're like, what does that mean? I mean, you connected something that's really not based in reality, but it has all these different equations, which is, it's interesting. But again, I mean, our mind is a powerful weapon, and who would ever thought of, fast forward to, a couple of decades back, of going into space. Like, think of like the imagination that took of, we're on ground and you see the moon. You're like, all right, I want to invent something, a rocket or whatever, to get onto that moon. I mean, the audacity of that, and maybe, and it came to fruition, supposedly, and that's another show. But the human mind is just, it's a powerful tool. So when someone came up with that type of scenario, I'm like, wow, it's very creative. But again, to connect all those dots, and more importantly, to have everyone on that same page, to produce that type of scenario in the 2000s. I mean, how long does it take a secret to spill? I mean, there's no secrets anymore. Maybe you could keep it for a month or two. There's so many people that are eager to talk and that have conflict with others. It's impossible to keep a secret. So I think conspiracy theories are fun, but myself, I think about more of, why did they happen? Why are people putting these pieces together and thinking, oh, this has to be it? I think there's a total breakdown in trust in governments that is very dangerous. And as someone that's works for a government branch, I take that serious. So the trust in the public, it has to be held to the highest standards. You can't have alliances with the devil and pacts with people, and suppressing things and coming up lying to the public. People suss that out very quickly, and it erodes the trust of obviously, you're in another country. This spreads globally, and then it infects us all. So, as my word to people in government, government officials is, you have to combat this as much as possible. Be transparent as possible and explain the process to people as much as you can without compromising the investigation, so these things don't come up. And because if you don't provide answers, people are going to provide their own answers, and it's not going to be the one that's necessarily true. So that's what I find interesting with the conspiracy theories, is the origins of it. Why? So.
Oh, I'm with you
But
100%.
myself as a viewer, I find it fascinating too. I mean, I just find it entertaining, especially if it's something I was involved in. I'm like, wow, okay, interesting. It's not what happened, but hats off for coming up with something entertaining. So, but it does erode trust, and I mean, we see it during this epidemic right now, and which is it can have profound effects on people's health. So it's not a good thing.
No, absolutely. Talking about conspiracy theories and internet investigator, what impact did the internet sleuths have in this case?
They, in general, it's a double-edged sword. If you have the amount of investigators that could intake that information and process it, it's great. But usually that's not the case. You're usually, especially something that's so high profile, you're overwhelmed with tips and leads, and then sometimes things just don't get the attention that they necessarily deserve, or things just don't even get attention, just due to the amount and the op tempo of the investigation. So the good thing is, people on the outside of law enforcement have a different way of looking at investigations. And someone like myself that was trained, now going on 26 years on the job, that I have a certain way of looking at things. And then say someone in a different country, you have a different way of looking at things, the way you were raised and taught, and your experiences. So I think it's great. The people, we rely on the people. It's a two-way street. They rely on us and we rely on them. So I encourage that. When I first became a detective, was when, high-speed internet and communication was really, just beginning. And it was interesting. We're overwhelmed with cases here in Los Angeles. I don't know how it is by you. So you're pretty much just triaging the information that you take. So there's no way to do a real good, thorough A to Z proper investigation, unfortunately. So I was starting to get people, scouring the internet, actual victims, and sending me information. And a lot of them would ask, like, "Hey, I don't mean to overstep my bounds, but I found this and that." And I would tell them, "Please, thank you. I don't have the time to scour eBay and all these different sites looking for stolen material. I'll try, and I have, but I just can't, dump all my resources into that." So it's a great thing. But then on the flip side, too much is too much. But the more the merrier, I say. You gotta put for a lot of for some investigators, the ego driven. So it's like, no, no, it's my investigation. I'll do it. I'll take care of it all. I'm the opposite. Put that ego and put it aside. It's like, hey, help me, help you. So it's a great thing, I think. And again, people's imaginations and where they search for and what they could find, probably far greater than I. So it's good.
So you actually know cases in which internet sleuths were actually useful.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just I always say take a vested interest in whatever it is that you're doing. Look for help, but in the end of the day, you can't rely on anyone but yourself. So if you're a victim of a crime, take ownership of that and do as much as you can to provide information to me or to yourself. No one's going to be the bigger advocate than yourself. So yeah, I think that's just in general for life. Rely on yourself and seek help from others. So that's my message to people at victims. Be an active victim, and do everything you can. Pester the detective that's on your case. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Be proactive, and be positive.
Okay. Many thanks for your time again, Jim. I think that this interview will be very interesting for my viewers and for everybody interested in the case of Elisa Lam. So many thanks for being with us. So goodbye, everybody, and see you next time.